Divorce finalized after my wife 38F cheated multiple times. This has been a long, heartbreaking, emasculating process. I 42M married my wife 38F 5 years ago. It hadn't been smooth sailing up to that point, though. We dated on and off for about 4 years. She had addiction problems, which led to infidelity on a few occasions. Once I caught her upstairs at a party in the act. I was so embarrassed I just left. She begged for another chance. I loved her and knew she wasn't herself. She got into a program and got sober. Things were beautiful. Our relationship was strong, and we got married. The first year of our marriage was perfect. The second year, not so much. A lot of bickering, but nothing I didn't think we could work through. The third year is when things got bad. She got drunk and cheated on me with a friend of mine. Obviously, this hurt me deeply, but she begged for forgiveness. I knew she had been drinking and convinced myself that was the only reason it happened. I wanted my marriage to work, so I forgave her under the condition that she wouldn't touch alcohol. Things went well for a bit, but I began to hear rumors at work. We worked at the same company. I don't like to pay attention to rumors, but given our history, it ate at me. It was never specific, but just people talking and alluding to things, you know. I questioned her. She denied everything. We had arguments, but I thought maybe I'm getting worked up for nothing. I figured it wasn't fair to get on her about he said, she said. Then one Friday, I was going into work. She had the day off. I was gone a couple hours, but ended up getting sent home early. I get home, and there's a random truck in our driveway. I go inside and I know what I hear, but I'm in disbelief. There were thumping, squeaky, and moaning sounds. Saying that my heart sank is an understatement. I walk towards the bedroom. The door's open, and I see her having sex with our supervisor. I think my heart stopped. I left. I had to, because I didn't want to do what I thought about doing. I drove with no destination. I finally pulled over and cried my eyes out. I felt stupid for not leaving before. I felt like a pushover. I felt emasculated. I felt like less than a man for not doing something in the moment. I drove back home, but they were both gone. I broke things, screamed, cried, and sat on the floor. She comes home with her friend and asks what the hell happened. I just started screaming at her. I was out of my mind. Eventually they left. She came back the next morning. We didn't speak all weekend, and then I went back to work Monday. As soon as I saw the supervisor, I made a beeline for him and connected a few times before it got separated. I screamed and looked crazy, I'm sure. Obviously, I was fired, but thankfully no charges were filed. I filed for divorce that week, which she didn't contest. The process takes a bit regardless. The problem was we were still living together. I just avoided her as much as I could. I was going to stay with my uncle, but I got strung along by him, and it never happened. I had no one else I could stay with at that point, so I had to still be there while trying to save up money to move. At this point, my wife didn't give a DN. She didn't even hide that she was seeing other people, even sneaking men into the house late at night. I had to hear things more than once. I didn't want to go to jail for doing something stupid, but I did want to see if there was anything I could do legally, which I was advised that there wasn't. So she's having her good times while I'm living in misery. But finally, I got my own spot. I moved out without a word. The divorce has been finalized. Splitting belongings was simple. I'm happy that it's done, but I'd be lying if I said I felt like myself. I'm colder, I'm negative, I'm just not me. I know it takes time to get through this. I know it was smart of me to just leave the house when I caught them, but that decision also eats at me. Yes, I know I should have ended things earlier. It's easy to say that in hindsight. We all want our relationships to work, and some of us took more abuse than others. I just wanted to get this off my chest. Just needed to vent. I'm sorry if this post might be all over the place.
Today, we have a second story for you.
Am I the a-hole? The guy she tells you not to worry about? Edit. I ended up making a new post with updates on the aftermath and more details. I 32M abandoned my girlfriend 27F in the city after she repeatedly broke my trust. Counting this relationship, my last 3 relationships have ended in me being cheated on. We had been together 8 months and had been planning a trip to a convention together. Shortly before the trip, she excitedly told me that she made a new friend who was giving us free tickets to the convention. Then things kept snowballing from there. She admitted having flirted with this guy by accident and asked me if she should feel bad. I asked her if he knew she had a boyfriend, and her response was, "No, it felt weird to bring up." And I've learned people are less likely to give you free stuff if you tell them you're in a relationship already. I told her this made me feel uncomfortable, and I didn't think it was outrageous of me to ask her to be careful with her actions and words around this guy. She knew I had been cheated on previously, and it had destroyed my mental health. She had told me that she had cheated in a previous relationship when she was young and in a bad place, but that she wasn't like that anymore. She seemed to understand my reservations about this guy that she couldn't help laying out in front of me. At the time, I hoped it was just her being transparent. So we finally get to the day of the convention, and she makes a beeline to her new friend and spends 90% of her time by his side. I see whispering together and shoulder rubs and giggling and all kinds of things that make me uncomfortable, but I keep it to myself until we're alone. At one point, I tried to go hold her hand, something we like to do often, and she pushed it away and said, "Not right now. I'm stressed," while going on to continue laughing in conversation with this other guy. At the end of the day, we're alone, and I say, "Look, I really don't like how I'm being ignored for this guy you just met. I feel like you're crossing boundaries here that hurt me a lot, and I just want to reassert that this hurts me and give you a chance to stop. I don't like this guy, and I don't like the extra attention you're giving him." Her responses were, "I'm not cheating on you. You can be his friend too. Just try to talk more to him. And I feel like you're targeting how I'm treating a friend because you've been cheated on before." I held firm. "I don't like it, and I hope you take my feelings here seriously." Early next morning, she picked up her phone and was typing away. I pretending to keep my eyes closed in sleep, but I could see she was texting this guy, saying how we had a fight. She felt stressed, worthless, scared. Meanwhile, the guy fed her positive affirmations about how special she was and how he liked her. My stomach kept sinking the more I caught out of the corner of my half-closed eyes until I had enough. I said good morning, and she rolled over on her side to face the phone away and started talking about how she was texting her coworkers. I gave her a weird look, and she said, "My back hurts. You think I'm trying to hide something because I wanted to roll over to where my back was comfortable? You were texting him." "No, I wasn't. I just told you who I was texting. You're targeting me again." My eyes widened. I sat up and cast 1,000-mile stare through the wall ahead of me. "Why would you lie about that? I was watching you texting him." She had a small mental breakdown and began begging with me. "I'm so sorry. I'll never do it again. I felt like you were targeting me with him. He's just a friend, and I don't want you to think anything else." Still, we made up and went back to the convention, where she again made a beeline for this guy and wandered around buying him things. At the end of the day, I told her I was going back to the hotel room, and she said she was going to go out with the guy for drinks, and I was welcome to come along, and that she might stay at his hotel room. I said, "Nah, I'm good, goodbye." That goodbye was the last time I saw her. I went and packed my stuff and drove back home several hours away. At 5 a.m. in the morning, she realized I had left and called me freaking out that I abandoned her. I told her to enjoy the rest of her trip, but there was nothing else in it for me, and that all her stuff was still in the room her ex-boyfriend me had paid for. I also told her if she critically needed a ride home, I'd pick her up, not as her boyfriend, but only out of necessity. Her new friend would likely be able to drive her anyway. Here she bashed me for abandoning my girlfriend with no place to go. I listened to a lot of crying and begging, but held firm. I've seen this story play out several times before. I no longer cared. It's hard to describe how I feel now. It's very hard to trust people without expecting hidden motives or something beyond my vision happening that would hurt me. I feel like I was right in finally putting my foot down. And every close friend I talked to about this told me I did the right thing and shouldn't have put up with that activity. But still, sometimes I have nagging questions about if I overreacted or if I was too sensitive. Like, if there's some way I could have done better, if I was an a-hole somehow, let me know, right? I like hearing these stories because seeing what other people have gone through gives me clarity during the times I was recovering after being cheated on. Hopefully, this story can do the same for someone. TLDR, ex-girlfriend repeatedly ignored my feelings about how she was treating a new guy friend, and I finally gave up on the relationship. So tell me, am I the a-hole?